Hello students, let us learn about the draping today, and which is the method that is being used by many designers for the production of customized designs. Draping is one of the older arts used for making garments. This art of draping was familiar during the civilizations of Mesopotamians and also the ancient Egyptians, which dates back to 3500 BC. This became a fashion in Greece by inventing the draped sillets like the chiton, peplos, himation and chlamys. Toga, a length of fabric that wraps and drapes around the body, was invented by Etruscans and also ancient Romans. Peplos was a lightweight woolen dress with shoulder clasps worn by Greek women. The upper portion of the peplos was folded down to reach the waist to form a popotigma. Chiton was a simple linen tunic worn by both men and women of all ages. Only difference found was the length of the tunic, knee length to the men and ankle length to the women. Chlamys was worn by men as a cloak made from a seamless rectangle wool fabric, the size of which is about the size of the blanket generally bordered. It was typically Greek military attire from 5th to 3rd century BC. The basic outer garment worn during winter was himation. It was a large cloak worn over the peplos or chlamys. Draping is an art of transforming a piece of cloth into a beautiful form around the body. Draping is generally associated with fabric falling in attractive folds. Technically, it is also fabric drape that represents the fall of the fabric. The art of draping is prompted to shape the fabric as per the curvatures and shape of the body, so that it will provide correct fit and comfort. This is a method wherein two-dimensional fabric is transformed into a three-dimensional shape. After draping a piece of fabric into a dress form or a shape, it can be removed and a pattern can be evolved from that. And let us see what are the tools and equipment that are required for this draping. So, to drape the fabrics to the body shape, few basic tools and equipment are required. Awl is a pointed metal instrument used for punching holes for belt eyelets and other clean sharp holes in fabric or maybe leather also. An 18-inch clear plastic roller may be required. It is a 2-inch wide and 1/8 inch grids. It is clear and perfect for truing and adding seam allowances in the final pattern. Then French curve roller, it is an irregular curve with an edge describing a special curve used to shape and also curve edges of the curved collars, necklines, crotch seams and also the armholes. Hip curve roller, it is a 24-inch roller with a long slightly shaped curve that finishes with a strong circular shape marked in both inches and also centimeters. It is used to shape lapels, seams, flares, gordets, princess lines and also pant crotch lines. Then coming to the L square, it is a metal or plastic roller with two arms of different lengths meeting at right angles. Then coming to a muslin, and it is an inexpensive fabric on which the grain and cross grain are quite visible. It is used to drape garments made of woven goods. The quality and hand of the muslin should represent the texture and characteristics of the actual fabric chosen for the garment design. Soft muslin simulate the draping quality of natural silks, synthetic fabrics such as georgettes, chiffons, lingerie and fine cottons. Medium muslin will simulate the draping quality of wool and medium weight cottons. Coarse muslin will simulate the draping quality of heavy weight wools and also cottons. Canvas muslin will simulate the draping quality of heavy fabrics such as denim, fur and others. Garments made of knitted fabrics should be draped in a less expensive knit fabric. However, the sample knit fabric should have the same stretch value as the fabric selected for the finished garment. And then coming to a notcher, it is a punching tool used to mark the edge of a sloper or a paper pattern, and these notches are very important in making the final patterns. Then we have another one, that is a pattern drafting paper, that is a strong white drafting paper with a 1-inch grid of patterns, that is in the form of dots of good quality and thickness. It is available in rolls of various widths. Then coming to the other tool that is being used is style tape. It is a narrow woven tape that is used to delineate style lines on the dress form. And then we need to have some pins, they are called straight pins, and satin dressmaker pins with sharp tapering points that will not rust, and they are used to anchor muslin or fabric to the dress form while draping. Then coming to the marking tool, that is the tailor's chalk. It is a small piece of chalk approximately 1.5 inch square with the 2 tapered edges. It is used to mark lines temporarily on garment hems and other alteration points. Tape measure, and it is a flexible, narrow, firmly woven 60 inches reversible tape, graduated both in inches and centimeters, and used for taking body and dress form measurements. And then coming to the tracing wheel, it is a marking instrument, it's a small tool. It is a small sharp spine edged circular wheel with a handle. It is used to transfer markings from the drape to the pattern sheet. Coming to the dress form is used to manipulate a flat fabric to fit the curves of the body accurately. It is used to visualize what a pattern should look like in relationship to the figure. There are several types of dress forms available in the market. The most commonly used form is the muslin padded dress form, and this form is set on a mobile height adjustable stand, and that duplicates the shape of the human body. It is firm but resilient and does not resist spins. The right and left sides are exactly alike. Garment manufacturers use this type of dress form to drape and perfect most basic blocks and original designs. Because sample garments are fitted, checked and corrected on the same form, much care and thought should be given to the purchase of the appropriate model, size, proportion of the dress form. A variety of dress forms are available in standard sizes now, and separately for juniors, for children, for men and for women figures. Coming to the terminology that has been used in draping, these terms are specifically used in draping other than the terms used in pattern making. They are: apex, it is the highest point of a bust on a dress form or a model. It is a reference point for establishing the cross grain position on the front body's muslin. And then balance, it is the matching of grains and pattern sections. The garment will twist, drag or pull when worn if the pieces are not on the correct grain, and if they are on cross grain there will be a difficulty if the proper grain is not present, and it will be distorted. And then a blend, this is a technique that helps form a smooth continuous line or smoothie shapes, discrepancies of marks or dots made on the muslin drape. Then coming to the block, a technique to shape the fabric by pulling and de-aligning it on grain while pressing with steam. We have another one, that is a break point. The point of a controlled turn, roll or a flare, usually relating to lapels, shawl collars, river collars and notched collars. Then another term called clip, a small cut into the seam elements used on curved seams to release strain and help the seam lie flat when turned. Coming to the cross marks, a mark or set of marks placed on a drape or pattern to indicate the point at which corresponding pieces of garment sections are to be matched, shirred or joined. Fabric excess, it is the amount of extra fabric manipulated into designed areas to help create body shape and garment style lines. Then one more term called master pattern. It is the basic pattern made from specific measurements that is used as a template. And then another term called muslin shell, and it is a basic sample garment made from muslin fabric as an aid during styling and fitting process. Then notches. These are the road signs to indicate which garment piece suit to which piece. Notches help to identify where pattern pieces should be matched. And then coming to another term called panel. A panel, that is a pre-measured piece of muslin used to drape a specific design. And then coming to another term called pin cushions or pin dispensers. These are sewing tools that keep pins organized and in a convenient place. And pivoting, that is the shifting or moving of a pattern from a marked position towards a designated guideline. And another term called ply, that is one layer of fabric when laying onto fabric to be cut is called a ply. Princess panel, that is the area of the dress form that extends from the princess seam to the armhole and side seams. And then slash, a straight cut longer than the clip from the outer edge of the fabric into the style line of the garment to relieve tension in the muslin, and which allows the drape to fit around the curves of the body. Then coming to the style lines, any seam line other than the shoulder seams, armhole seams or side seams. A style line usually runs from one point of a garment to another point. Coming to another term called transferring, the process of pinning and tracing all the fabric markings onto the paper pattern is called transferring. And then coming to the truing, the process of blending the markings, dots and cross marks made during the draping process is called truing. And then trims, and to cut away excess fabric and make the seam narrower after it has been stitched. Then another term called underlay. So, the underside of a draped design that is made when establishing darts, pleats and extensions. And then vanishing points, these are the tapered finishing points of a dart. Then yardstick. Yardstick, it is a metal or wooden ruler 1 yard in length that is marked in metric and inch terms. It is used to lay the pattern pieces on straight of grain of the fabric or to measure hemlines. And the points to remember here is that the importance of grain of the fabric in relation to the design. Design should not be forgotten, and knowledge about basics of the fabric like GSM drape are very important, and manipulation of the fabric on a 3-dimensional form and obtain harmony between the fabric and design is to be known by the designer, and stimulation of creativity by feeling and molding with the fabric is also important, and developing a keen sense of proportion and placement of style lines, and then evaluation of the fit, hang and balance of the garments and live models also is very, very important in order to come up with the proper designs. Then let us see what are the principles of draping. There are few rules or principles the designer must follow to create designs using a draping technique. So, the fabric should always be draped in relation to its grain lines. Then improper handling of fabric on wrong grain line may create havoc in the final look of the garment. The dress form should be properly marked on body lines such as bust line, waistline, hip line, and be sure that the lines are parallel to the floor. And then good quality pins are a must for proper draping. The pins should not lose shape easily and should not rust. The seam lines should be well established before starting the drape. A firm muslin cloth should be used for normal drapes. It should be checked for grain perfection, that is, warp and weft in right angles to each other or not. It is better to use similar type of inexpensive muslin as the fabric used for the final garment. It is better to mark cross grain on dress form and muslin also. The fabric should be pinned to the dress form as the seam and lappet points. The curved edges should be handled gently, taking care not to pull the fabric and distort the grain. Marking all lines after pinning darts, tucks and pleats with bold lines will avoid lot of confusion. The crossing points of darts, tucks and pleats may be marked with an X. Marking all the seam lines with the dots or dash lines will be helpful for drawing the pattern finally. For producing symmetrical designs, draping the muslin on one side may be enough. The same may be duplicated for the other side. Now, let us look what are the advantages of draping. Working with actual materials gives a designer greater inspiration and indication of the flow and performance of the fabric. A designer can easily see the proportion, the fit, the balance and style lines of the design exactly as it will look on the bodies. Even though a designer may start draping using a sketch, but it may take an innovative shape, making it totally a new design. Sometimes it is possible for the designer to produce designs without any sketch or pattern. Draping allows freedom to the designer and makes him to get the feel of the fabric. It is easier to manipulate striped and checkered fabrics and produce chevron patterns with good precision. Draping is an artistic approach of creating garments. Many designers prefer to use draping methods to create their own original designs. Varied designs can easily be created once the skill of draping is acquired. The draped designs like flounces, pleated, gathered, etc. and cowls can also be made perfect by this method. It is possible to drape the fashion fabric itself on dress form and make a draped garment quickly. When you do not require it quickly, it is better to use another material here, but if you want to do it quickly, then maybe the same fabric can be draped on the dress form and we can see how it can be done and we can cut it and then we can make a perfect garment. Then what are the disadvantages of this draping? So, it is considered a time consuming process and therefore, may be a little expensive, and the standard sizes of dress forms may not fit to the measurements of the many customers, and customization of dress form measurements will be difficult and also expensive, and it requires knowledge and skill of draping. More fabric may be necessary for draping than cutting the drafts and taking the patterns, and the final look of the garment depends on the quality of muslin used for creating the pattern. Then let us see what are the uses of the draping method. It is wise to use draping to produce new and innovative designs. It can be employed to produce high fashion and highly customized expensive couture dresses with success. Many types of evening gowns can be made with exotic looks. Bias garments, asymmetrical dresses, molded silhouette dresses, cowls, drop shoulder dresses, etc. can be produced using the drape method. Then let us see what are the accessories that are being used in draping. So, to support the shape of the draped garments, some construction devices may be required. It may be simply a lining which mimics the shape of the silhouette on the body. More structured underlayer support may be necessary for some special designs such as corsets or bust pads to get the correct fitting and the silhouette. One can also research less structured details to control the fabric such as hidden fastenings, tapes or body harnesses that can anchor the garment at strategic points on the body without the need of a corset. Those customers who would like to have their look, they always go for this draping technique, and definitely this will give them idea how it is going to look when they drape the particular material on dress form. And so, this draping, even though it is a little expensive and little customized, but it will be able to really produce a very good design and which is going to be fitting or not to the particular person. And so, draping method is one of the best methods of making the a pattern, so that it can really give a very good design for the particular customer who is going to wear it.